Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Slant 3D podcast, the show about 3D printing and our place inside the industry. Today, we're going to talk about Wiglets, Lulzbot, some updates to Tangled. We're going to open up some 3D printed headphones and ultimately finish it out with talking about taxes for 3D printing businesses. But before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by Teleport. Teleport is our 3D print on demand app. You can connect any e-commerce store to it, and we will print and ship items directly to your customers for you. This allows new 3D printing businesses to grow and existing 3D printing businesses to expand. You have access to hundreds of 3D printers instantly for free. All you have to do is upload a model, and whenever you get an order, we will print and ship that item directly to your customer for you. So you can focus on creating amazing products or learning to take care of your customers even better. So check out Teleport today at slantpod.com. That's slantpod.com. The link is down in the description. All right, so news. News was a little bit light this week. A lot of people are doing AMUG and Rapid are coming up here. So all companies are like holding back news, and there's not a lot just in the ether. But a few pieces of scuttlebutt that I was able to locate. Wiglets, ZBaileyDesigns. Is working to go into retail. So if you don't know, we've talked about ZBailey before. I think we've actually even done a real printed products video about them. But they are making tiny little fidget guys. And they have a print farm of about 150, maybe more bamboo machines down in Utah. And they make toys. They bill themselves as a toy company. They are not a 3D printing company. They are a toy company. And very recently, they have started pursuing retail partnerships and sales, which is great to see. They have a good Instagram following. I'm sure their online sales are fine. It's gotten them to this point, but now they're pushing for the next thing, which is actual retail, because people don't really realize online retail is only about for physical products, for their category of products. Online retail, like toys, is only about 50, maybe a little bit more percent or so of the market. In retail in general, online is only about 16% of total retail sales in the world. So going into actual physical retail is useful and a great direction to go. And ZBailey is a company that uses 3D printing to create a product that otherwise wouldn't exist. And it's exciting to see them go at it in a very good kind of business savvy way, rather than just, we 3D print stuff and going from there, because that's a very stopping point. If your shtick is you 3D print stuff, you don't have a very good business, because Nike molds shoes, but that's not what they do, right? So it's wanted to do the news about that. Wiglets is going into retail. Congratulations to them. Next piece of news, Lulzbot has released a new TAS 8 machine. We generally do not announce new 3D printers on the thing, and we're not going to dive deep into this, but Lulzbot is a US company manufacturing 3D printers, so I thought I would bring it up. So one other little piece of news that got dropped here also just today. Nano Dimension finished the acquisition of Desktop Metal, which I was somewhat skeptical about before. I wasn't sure that the court saying that it would happen meant that it was going to happen, but it's happened. And there's been a number of reports that came through from it. Basically, they say, here's the main things we're going to focus on. Maintaining financial strength, ensure a robust capital base. Good idea, make sure you have money. Nano Dimension had $1 billion sitting around. That'll be helpful. Drive profitable growth. Yeah, grow, get more stuff, all the stuff. Grow margins, yes, make more profit off of the stuff that you grow. Building indispensable customer partnerships. This is where it's interesting. Deliver solutions that make Nano Dimension a critical manufacturing partner. That is actually not stupid corporate speak. Everybody wants to widen their margins. Everybody wants to increase their growth, blah, 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 blah. No one's ever not said that in a press release before. But becoming a critical partner, Nano Dimension has actually done this itself. It is what Desktop Metal has failed to do. Desktop Metal historically has not really been like the go-to. They've had a good brand and people try them, but they haven't really stuck with them very well. Having Nano Dimension available to kind of triage some of the opportunities might actually be useful. So it's cool that Nano Dimension is actually finishing the Desktop Metal acquisition, and we'll wave goodbye to Desktop Metal, and now there'll be Nano Dimension Metal. But that's that piece of news. Okay, that's the news. That's real quick and easy, guys. But moving into company updates. So teleport. We are working to get intercom implemented. It has been a little bit more of a slog than we were anticipating, and it's been an issue. But it should improve our response times and everything else, as well as improve just general resources for getting set up and going with teleport. Teleport's still growing fast, so we're not too worried about it. But it is a core product feature that we're putting time into right now. But getting it integrated in a useful way is what we're fighting with, and we're holding off on this because it's there's fires burning while we're building a fireproof house. This is the situation of like, yes, there are all the responses and the support, the existing support that we need to take care of. But if we keep on doing that, then we can't build the better system that's up there. So the customer support team is split between these two projects and is kind of prioritizing the intercom system, because once that's out, all those fires go out and can never happen again. So our apologies if we've been a little bit slow responding to some like customer questions and that kind of thing. We have an FAQ page, we have a lot of videos, and of course there's good questions down here in the comments of this video that I respond to every week. There's also the Reddit community, 3D print entrepreneurs on Reddit, where other folks can help out and that kind of stuff. And there's a really good conversation going on over there. So all of that should get you what you need to get it done. We don't do multicolor prints, and we don't, and yes, we connect to any e-commerce site that you have. WooCommerce, TikTok Shop, whatever you can possibly name, all of them work with Teleport. Those are the two most common questions that come up that sometimes don't get answered because we've answered them many times. Okay, Tangled. Let's see here. Tangled updates. We are hiring more people. So we have new people starting up here literally this week. I apologize, guys. I got something itching in my eye. But the more people committed totally to Tangled. Historically, Tangled has been kind of a side project that's been split between different folks, to where there's like internal production, Tangled production, that kind of stuff. We're building out the Tangled team so that there's just committed people to that project. Should continue to improve our time. Last week, we had everybody go out sick, which slowed down shipping times a bit, which then creates customer support problems, which then slows down shipping times more, and so on and so forth. So we're trying to stay ahead of it. The other thing, and being able to operate and run that continuously should continue to improve product quality, because the problems in any sort of given product are always in the startup and the shutdown, getting started and going from there. So that should help Tangled get scaled up. Once that's in place, what we're going to start pushing on are the additional colors and additional materials that we're doing with a partner manufacturer, where we're basically reselling their material. That will be activating very soon as we get these new folks onboarded. And that will be inside of the subscription. Again, discounts inside of the subscription. So we're going to try to increase the value of the subscription more so that there's more selection in there and more reason to use it. And then we'll go through and do kind of a website revamp and that kind of thing too. Though at the same time, the Tangled website right now is stupidly simple. You can be in the member shop or you can be in the public shop. What you see in the public shop is in the member shop, but the member shop is cheaper. That's the whole thing. And if it's not in the member shop, then it's the same price as the public shop. Okay. We were also, the one thing around updating the website, I don't know how to make it clearer on the website, but I was in the forums watching a few folks discuss Tangled. And there's still, like we're a fairly well-known channel. Tangled is a fairly well-known brand at this point, but not that well-known. There's still suspicion about it, of like, who's it coming from? Oh, it looks shady. So we're going to go through and try to revamp the site to make it look less shady, I guess. Because I know a few months ago, we had a number of bugs on it when we were first releasing the site, because we just propped it up. And Tangled, again, has always been a side project. But going through revamping it, increasing the professionalism of it, and just making and telling the story more explicitly in everything, from the product listings to all the rest of it, so that people get the context from the product listing, because it's odd when people are suspicious of it. But it's odd to me because it all comes from like this YouTube channel, and all of you guys have watched Tangled grow. So when I hear somebody say like, I don't know if Tangled's legit or something like that, I'm just like, we're a very public-facing organization. It's tough to say we're not legit when I literally have to do a podcast and talk about this every week. But when that comes up, it means there's a problem in our product listings, the story on the site, the marketing on the site, to where it's not clear what's going on. Or even like Tangled seems too separate from like this channel, to where it looks like Tangled is posting videos from this channel to make the point, rather than us explicitly talking to. We have videos talking about Tangled. Again, I don't know. We're going to do a whole reeval on it, but it's obviously an issue because people have had an issue. So we're going through and changing that. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, also, yeah, we did update the stickers on the Tangled spools. They're going to say 220 to 260 degrees to print at, because everybody's printing at the higher speeds and no one gets them to. There's a persistent report of jams in machines, and it's almost always because the temperatures are too low. Because we make good PLA, and it has to be printed at a high temperature. Most people, if you're shoving it into a bamboo or something like that, 240 plus. 240 plus, and as high as 260. Go. Print it at a high temp, because it's not regrind garbage. I need to put that as notes just all the time. Print at high temp. But we've updated the stickers on the side of the spools also, so that it's reinforced there at the thing. It technically prints fine at 180, 220, but that's at slower speeds. If you're trying to ramp up your default, if you're using a default bamboo profile, also probably won't work. It's not a default PLA, and this is a challenge that we have. So yeah, all that kind of stuff. Media. Oh, this is just kind of an update in general. You guys may have noticed, like, with this channel, we have not been producing at the same cadence on this channel as what we normally do. We do podcast every week, and then we've been doing about one video per week. The reason for that has been we've been working on the Slant POD channel, which is the kind of the business focused channel of where we talk about aspects of running the business, ways to get ideas for starting a business, all that kind of stuff. And that's really important to us in growing Teleport, to make sure that there's resources and insights and ideas over there. Whereas the Slant 3D channel has always been a much more technical channel, talking about like industrial design, or we'll talk about design, engineering, that kind of stuff. So what are we going to be doing with this channel? We're going to continue that content, and we plan to be ramping up content again here too. Again, it's kind of like a limitation of team, of like we have people split between the two separate channels. We're working on finalizing our Series A right now. When that's done, then basically we'd be expanding the content team so that both channels get the air that they deserve, to the degree that I'm able to host videos. But even within that, you guys may start to see new hosts come in, or at the very least different kind of formats. So we're going to keep on experimenting with formats over here. That all being said, there's about 5 videos in progress right now that are more kind of traditional Slant 3D, of like, this is how you design a hinge, and this is how you design this cool thing, and so on and so forth. So those will be starting to flow again. This whole Q1 has been ramping up stuff, and now we're kind of coming back around to improving the marketing, because the products are now up where they need to be. Side note, don't ever market a product until the product is actually working. Otherwise, you just have sand leaking through a colander. So we don't market unless we have something ready and available to market that's good. Okay, so Spot. We've been doing new types of segments here in the podcast, and one of these segments is reviewing 3D models. A couple weeks ago, you saw this thing that we talked about, but Head amame is a 3D printed headphone maker. And they sent us this kit a little while back. And I said I would probably take a look at it on a podcast, or we do a real printed products. I'm going to take a look at it on a podcast. So I'm opening up this box right here. Get back here away from the desk. Opening up the box. Here's what we got. Let's see here. So, packing slip, this kind of stuff. They did not sponsor us or anything like that. They reached out, said, "Hey, what's up? Do you want to take a look at them?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, man." So we have a speaker kit right here. 2 speakers, DuPont connectors. I like that. There's the rest of the connectors. So everything's all soldered up. Oh no. And a screw kit. I'm saying oh no because I think, hold on, I'm going to open up this speaker here. I hate to solder, and I feel bad when a small business has to solder a ton of these kits together or put DuPont clips on the end of stuff, because that crimping process is also sort of miserable. Oh, good job, guys. You have a 3D printed part with the speaker driver on the inside there. Yep, that's a DuPont connector that's assembled in 2 soldered wires. Guys, like, here's the thing. Like, this thing, 3D printed thing with speaker driver inside of there. I don't know what they charge for this normally, for these kits, but this assembly right here is should be at least $5. Should charge at least $5. Like $5 of labor, at least, in order to make sure it's done well. So I really appreciate that, because that's hard to do. Soldering stuff, and then it gets broken in the mail, and then you're redoing it. There's the cables. Nice cables, nice audio cables. All right, let's see 3D printed stuff. Truly useful. We have any issues? Email us. Oh, and the puffs. Oh, this doesn't have the 3D print parts in it. Oh, my bad. I was supposed to print those files. They did send us the files. But these muffs are super comfy. That feels really good. Okay, so this is just the speaker kit with, but the Amame headphones are really cool, sick looking headphones, that can be 3D printed. And then they have, the muffs, and the, speaker kits that you can then get so that you can assemble them together and make a set of headphones that are 3D printed so that you can restyle them the way you want to. We might have to do that as like a project. We might redesign, how do all these plug together? Oh, okay, so the driver has that, then the driver goes to the aux cable here, converts to the aux cable here, and then that just plugs right in. So they're directly driven there. We may have to design a set of headphones, because I like this kit. But Amame has a 3D printed design that you can download for free, I believe, and print those parts, and then you can buy the speaker kits from them. And I like that speaker kit quite a bit. So we might design something. How do you mount these muffs on there? Do they have to be bolted on through? No way. No, that can't be right. Oh, they have these sleeves right here, so you just have to design your headphones to have the thing on them. I don't know. I'm not a audiophile. I don't know how these things go together. I was expecting like some clip, whatever it was, made it thing. I don't know. I don't use headphones very often. I use earbuds, and that's the whole thing. But I do always like the over-ear cover, because this is always comfortable, and the audio is nice, and I appreciate that. I just don't use it. Nice. Well, no, that kit is nifty. But you can buy the speaker kit, and you can then design or 3D print your own headphones. And quite frankly, that's something that people should do. I wonder if you could upload the headphone band, the main headphone body, to Teleport, and then like integrate with Amame so that their kits would arrive with. Ooh, that's an interesting idea. What if? I don't know. Give me a comment down in the things, or state down in the comments. What if we made the Amame kit, the speaker kit, a third-party accessory. And then you guys could design headphones that you could then sell. And then the kit and the headphones would be printed and shipped together. We could add these kits to the warehouse and just have them in this nice little box and package just like this. It's kind of our fault if like the wires get broken, so I'm not sure if the team would approve it. But we could try that. Okay, moving on to the next thing. What I know about taxes. Topically, here at the beginning of April. So we filed our taxes a little bit ago. Okay, what are tips? I had some notes of like tips that I wanted to talk about. Taxes, number one, 3D printing. So there's a limit to how much I can tell you because I'm not going to tell you everything we do with our taxes. Not because any of it is illegal or weird, but this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, accountant, or lawyer, and I don't want to get myself in trouble by saying something wrong. So around some of these real nitty-gritty parts. But some of the larger like tax strategy or operational strategy that we use financially could be useful to folks. So I'm going to go back to the very, very beginning. If you're starting a 3D printing business, there are the tax implications of, are you a sole proprietorship, an LLC, or a type of corporation? Everybody's always going to say, go get an LLC. If you have not sold at least $1,000 worth of merchandise, do not get an LLC. You don't need it. At least $1,000, probably more like $5,000. If you haven't sold $5,000 worth of stuff on Etsy, you don't need an LLC. Don't get an LLC. Stop wasting your time. Go flip and sell something first. So you can have a sole proprietorship and it turns up on your taxes as a 1099 miscellaneous, I believe. Because it's like, I sold jam or something. That's effectively what a 3D printing side hustle would be. So stay as a sole proprietorship. A sole proprietorship is not even a formal form. You can file a DBA with your state if you want to, or you can just stamp a name on a sheet and show up at a show and start selling stuff. And then you personally, with your social number, are the registered tax entity that people go to. So people overcomplicate the whole starting up of a business in regards to taxes. It's not complicated. You sell stuff. You can file a DBA with the state if you want a different name to be the thing selling stuff, but it's still you. It's just I don't even understand the validity of DBAs anymore. It's so you can put your name on checks at the bank account. If you want to put Gabe's 3D printing shop at the top of your checks, you have to have a filed doing business as name in order for the bank to do that. But in all other regards, name of your website, you showing up at a show, you paying taxes, it's all your name. If you're a sole proprietorship. And a sole proprietorship does not cost money to get. It is just the taxing entity thing. You don't have to register it. You don't have to do anything. Unless you want checks with your company name at the top of it. An LLC is a pass-through organization to where you remove liability from yourself because that organization it effectively is a company that is separate from you, but you're the primary holder of. Sole proprietorships can be a single member or a multi-member. Single member, you automatically opt into if you're registering yourself, which means that you're now a sole proprietorship just with an LLC structure, which is not helpful. An LLC is a way of minimizing liability operationally in the company. There's not really a tax benefit to it. Talk to your accountant, depends on the situation. Multi-member allows you to have shares in the company, so an LLC allows member ownership to be allocated in a way that's useful. Then you have corporations, S Corp, C Corp. Slant 3D is a C Corp type of organization. The reason for that is very early on when we started the company, I knew it wasn't going to be my little side hustle. I knew it was a company. And as a company, I wanted it to have the appropriate restrictions and structure. From a tax standpoint, people do not like C Corps small businesses do not like C Corps because the corporation makes money, clears all the money, and then pays its taxes. And then it can pay off shareholders or employees. So like I, as the CEO, receive a salary after the company pays its taxes. So that money is taxed at the corporation, and then I pay taxes on it again at the individual rate. With an LLC, that's not true. The LLC passes straight on through, and then I pay at the individual's tax rate. If it's a sole member LLC, sole proprietorship, pay at the individual tax rate. So the money is only taxed once. The reason I don't care about that is because it is not my job to create an organization that makes me rich. It is my job to make an organization that is self-sustaining, which means that organization needs to be independent of me. So we are a C Corp because we're a real company. And we want shareholders and oversight and bylaws and Gabe not picking into the bank account to download some money for his party on the weekend. I wanted structure. So we're a C Corp. A C Corp also enables shareholders and that kind of thing to operate more reliably. So Slant 3D has always been considered a C Corp. What we're currently a version of an LLC considered taxed as a C Corp to maintain that structure. And then but that also allows us to then roll directly into a standard C Corp when more and more shareholders are added on. So that's starting up the company. Them's all the rules around the taxes of starting up a company. Hopefully that's useful. Then let's see here. Yeah, don't care. Don't worry about any part of this until you've sold $1,000 worth of stuff. It is not relevant in any sort of context. Okay, when you pay taxes, fiscal years. So everybody generally pays their taxes on April 14th, hopefully a little bit earlier if you were prepping for it. Maybe on the 1st of January, at the end of the year. But most people have a fiscal year from January to December. That is the time that your accountant and your IRS looks at to measure how much money you earned in that period of time to know how much to be taxed on. That fiscal year can be readjusted for strategic reasons. So for example, Slant 3D. We do a lot of e-commerce stuff for people. Teleport, people print parts, and then we print and ship them out or people connect parts to us and we print and ship them for their stores. A lot of those are consumer parts, which means that you have a gigantic spike in the Christmas season. If we had a typical fiscal year, we would run along the whole year, and then in November, December, have a giant spike of made money, and then we would have to spend that money in the last week of December in order to get it back into the company before it's taxed just as cash sitting around. So we don't do that. We have a fiscal year that ends in October. That way, November and December are the first couple of months of our fiscal year so that we earn all that money and then we get to spend it throughout the year and deploy it where necessary, which creates write-offs and benefits. As a manufacturing company, we're able to buy machinery, which can be a tax write-off. We are able to build out more machines. We're able to store up inventory. All these kind of things can be done in order to reduce the tax burden at the end of the year. So you can change your fiscal year. And the way of doing that is you tell your accountant, hey, I want to change my fiscal year, and they file a piece of paperwork. Here's the danger with it that we had. We had and you want to establish, this is important when you're filing a company, because when you start a company, you establish your fiscal year. Establish your fiscal year right off the bat. And I do recommend going like October to October rather than January to December. We had a traditional fiscal year because when we first started Slant 3D, we didn't think about it as an e-commerce company. We're like, we're a production company. Production happens all the time. There's not seasonal spikes. But when we realized that we're a Christmas company, we had to change our fiscal year. But the only way to do that is to take a 24-month period and make 1 month 10 months, 1 year 10 months, and 1 year 14, or 1 year 12. Sorry. You cut 1 year shorter in order to move the fiscal year back, and then you carry on. So what we had then was 1 year where we had all the regular part of the year, which, by the way, was not a very good year. And then we cut off Christmas, which was the most lucrative parts of the year. So the bank and the IRS and the tax thing, all of it looks like a massive drop in everything for that year because we cut off 2 of our most profitable months. That's a problem. And it is a problem right now. It's something we're still dealing with because it messes with your financing ability to raise loans, those kind of things. Because for us, we're a company that basically operates at even. but there's no way to operate it even in that period because we have to purchase Christmas inventory in October, which then appears as an expense in that 10-month fiscal year. And then you have the actual money making happen. So it looks like break even or a loss for that year because we're just structured so cockamamie. So that wasn't helpful on our books on paper. But in dealing with that, dealing with the banks, you find banks who are intelligent, who are able to understand what a fiscal year change means and the relevance of that, and are able to just look at it like a P&L and do the math, or have good partners and that kind of stuff. If we were a public company and we did that, a bunch of people would have got freaked out and our stock would have dropped for like a day until people realized, oh, okay. But yeah, making sure your fiscal year is appropriately structured is really, really important strategically to the business. Okay, if you are a 3D printing company selling goods, how do you minimize your tax load? Do not ever attempt to avoid taxes. Don't ever do that. Pay your taxes. We live in this country, pays the bills, you drove on the roads, that kind of stuff. It's fine to pay taxes. And quite frankly, if you are really wanting to avoid the IRS, the best way to throw red flags is pay zero in taxes. And then they'll audit you every single year. So pay your taxes. You will owe it, and it's fine, and it causes problems even if you don't. So in order to reduce the tax bill, though, generally the corporate tax rate in America is about 20% right now. Give or take a couple of percent. I don't know what it is in this moment. It changes based on who's in office. But the corporate tax rate is about 20%. So that of all the money that you make, you're going to get charged 20% of it needs to go to Uncle Sam. The write-offs, the way of reducing that, let's clarify write-off a little bit here. A write-off does not mean that you make those taxes disappear. A write-off is a purchase you make that your taxes can effectively go towards purchasing. So rather than paying the money to the government, I can buy this particular item that the government wants me to buy, and they'll pay for it with my tax bill so that I can take it off of my tax bill. So rather than paying so as like a manufacturing company or as a 3D printing business, you could, prepping for your tax season, be looking ahead and be like, okay, well, we're going to have $1,000 left over here. Normally, we'd be taxed at 20%, so $200 needs to go to the government. Or I can spend $200 and go buy another 3D printer because the government wants me to expand my factory, buy another 3D printer, and now I only have $800, which is then taxed at 20%. So about $180 needs to go to the government. That's how a write-off works. You reduce your tax obligation by deploying the capital. Because taxes are applied to money made, effectively. Again, depends on your accountant and how you're doing stuff, but depends on the context. But you're taxed on what you make. So if you deploy that money, which is objectively good for the economy and what the government wants you to do as an organization, all of these companies, when people look at big companies like, oh, Amazon didn't pay any taxes, it's like, Amazon didn't make any money. Like they have deployed all of that money in order to avoid taxes. Some of them can export money to countries with different tax rules and that kind of stuff to where they actually can profit. But in general, if you look at like Amazon, for a long time, Amazon had no profit. So they'd make $200 billion, but then they'd build 20 new fulfillment centers. So they basically had no profit and therefore were not taxed. That's kind of how that settles out. So if you take the cash that you're earning and actually deploy it into the economy, into your business, grow your business, then yes, write-offs are an incentive to do that because you're not going to earn that money, deploy it, and then still be taxed on that money. That is silly and is a bad incentive structure. So if you're running a 3D printing business and you want to grow your business, use your loose cash to grow that business. And the tax rules are such to where they are trying to help you do that. So yeah, do that kind of stuff. Buy more machinery. Manufacturing is in a really unique category here because most manufacturing equipment that is used to improve your production falls into the category of like a write-off. Inventory can also be stored and purchased. So a way of kind of like deferring taxes of like, oh, we're going to buy 1,000 pounds of filament. That filament's going to get turned back into cash, more cash the next year, which we would then be taxed on. But you can store up inventory and move it around as well. Again, these are not tax avoidance things. All of this is part of the tax code in order to incentivize companies spending money so that their money goes into the economy. Because when you buy filament, that guy has now made money rather than me shoving profit into a mattress and keeping the company the same size. I grow the company, grow the economic value. The government will get a larger tax payout in the future. That's the reason for that structure. So let's see here. So yeah, if you're wanting to grow the business, spend the money to grow the business. Let's see here. Other tips or tricks for understanding the fiscal responsibility and resources around taxes. Fiscal year is the big one. Spend the money. If you're a manufacturing company, if you're a 3D printing company, you have really good tax advantages because manufacturing's in a really good spot right now. So starting up a print farm is not a bad idea. And I'm saying that as a guy who makes a print farm that I want other people to use. But if people using Teleport have pure cash flow, so they're a lot like a software company. But in that case, if you're designing stuff for Teleport, your payroll for designing for Teleport, printers that you use for prototyping can be left over in Teleport. You are able to hire more people, that kind of thing. Oh, side note, just kind of in bookkeeping. Well, no, we don't need to go into that. That doesn't have to do with anything in taxes. We might get to it, but it is what it is. Here's the thing. If you need to avoid taxes, as in like you have a business where the tax bill needs to be low, otherwise you're going to get hurt, you have a bad business. That is a leading indicator that you have a bad business. Not a bad accountant necessarily, but a bad business. If you are not able to afford the taxes that you have, your business has a fundamental mathematical problem inside of it. So make sure you fix that and make sure you're self-evaluating around that kind of stuff. Because this is kind of like this goes into like the same category of Etsy fees. Let's say Etsy fees are about 10%, which is about what they are. If your business is not able to sustain a 10% fee for the platform, the marketing, and the payment processing, you have an unsustainable business. You have a hobby, a side hustle, something like that, but it's not a business. So make sure that you have something robust. Any business should have gross profits of about 25% and net profits of about 10%. So that's where you should be landing on all that stuff. So 10% should not ruin you. And 1 or 2% fluctuations should definitely not ruin you. They're an inconvenience, but they shouldn't be, oh my gosh, I just lost all this money now. That should never happen. Okay, let's see. Sales tax. What can I say about sales tax? What lessons we've learned? Etsy takes care of sales tax. You don't need to file sales tax with your state after making Etsy purchases. This also applies to eBay and I believe Amazon. Pretty much every e-commerce platform, they handle sales tax for you and you don't have to deal with it at all. This is something that we did not know all the time. We paid a lot of sales taxes before we found out that a particular platform was already paying them. They were very ambiguous about it. But sales tax is something you have to charge. Well, something a business has to pay in basically every state except 5, like Texas, Oregon, and Montana, and Delaware. I'm not sure the other sales tax-free states, but sales tax is something that a business has to pay, and it is the cost of doing business in that state. Sales tax is one of the best taxes because it's a consumptive tax. Whoever buys the most gets taxed the most. So it's a very fair system there. But the sales tax, most businesses pass sales tax along to where the customer pays for the sales tax. That is not necessary. A business can eat sales tax and just charge you 99 cents and then pay their 5% tax or whatever it was on their own as part of their cost of operations. That's perfectly doable, and they're allowed to do that. The sales tax fee is something that businesses pass along, kind of like tips. And they make it prevalent and forward because customers understand that it's a tax, so it seems external to the business rather than important inside of the operation. So interesting conversation there. Let's see here. Sales tax has to be filed monthly. Once you get to a certain size, you have to file projections of what your sales tax will be, and you basically pay your sales tax quarterly and then readjust it as time passes. So that is a thing. Yeah, that's all that stuff. Contractors. If you hire a contractor, you are supposed to send out 1099 forms telling them how much you paid them so that they can then take those 1099s and put them on their tax return. It's important for everybody's auditing. The world will not explode if a 1099 gets misplaced or goes missing or whatever else it was. To get it done right, all of this stuff you're trying to do, but generally the world will not explode if there's some error made somewhere along the way. That's what the audit is for. The audit is there to clean up your books every couple of years. Like, thank goodness you guys are here. Tell me what's happening inside of our books. That's what the IRS is for. Find that receipt. Here's the shoebox. Okay, let's see here. What else? Sales taxes. Yeah, we got sales taxes done. State taxes, separate income tax. It's just a federal version of it all is what it is. Let's see. Other tips or tricks I can think of around taxes here this tax season. If you're a 3D printing business on Etsy, you're basically making pure profit. You can write off cost of material, the printers that you're using, a little bit of the labor that you're using. Make sure you're able to keep it sustainable. Yeah, that should keep you all covered. Yeah, that's the main stuff that I have. There's other things that can be done. Tax planning is really, really useful. Oh, by the way, no, here's the last one. Get an accountant and pay them well. Like literally, if you have a business that is making about $20,000 a year in revenue, somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a year in revenue, find an accountant, pay them the $200 to file the taxes for your business. It will pay for itself. That's like the minimum tier. If you're smaller than that, use whatever TurboTax or something like that, and it's fine. But once you start to make a little bit of money, make sure you get an accountant correctly because they literally just know of a switch you can flip. And you're like, oh yeah, right here. There's that and there's your write-off. And it is always worth it. And there are a lot of accountants around who are very fine. And there's really no way they can screw you except to have a fee that's too high. But just ask them what the cost to file your taxes is and then send them your taxes. Make sure you keep your paperwork straight. This is what tons of businesses are terrible at. They just can't keep their own paperwork straight. But keep your books right. Know what a W-2 is. Know how to export it all. Ask ChatGPT for help. We have a helicopter flying over, but is what it is. But yeah, get a good accountant. And most definitely, if you are a larger business, if you're starting to grow into tens of thousands of dollars, make dang well certain you have a good accountant. I'm going to try to stop the helicopter from being heard. But get a good accountant. It is one of the most obvious, simple, and underrated or missed opportunities to make money in the world because they will save you so much on your taxes that they pay for themselves plus profitability every time. I have never known of a situation where an accountant made your situation worse from when you were doing it yourself. I've had bad accountants, and bad accountants have effectively what they do is they end up making you pay more than you had to, which again is fine. You got to pay your taxes, but they're not helpful to your business. They're not thinking of like, oh, you should plan ahead and change your fiscal year this way, Gabe, because this, that, and the other thing, and then you can actually deploy cash over time. That kind of stuff. They are financial experts who are there to help you do the job correctly and hopefully better than doing it alone. So get a good accountant if you're operating any sort of meaningful business. Okay, but that's it. That's all my tips for taxes and that kind of stuff. Okay, next thing. We're doing this as a little bit of an insert, but the prize. So the prize announcement went out earlier. The prize is for new Teleport users who are starting a new store. If you sell $1,000 worth of anything, then we will pay you $1,000 as a prize. The reason we're doing this is the point of Teleport is to make it possible for people to create businesses that were never possible before. You're able to get access to a factory for free, and that's what Teleport is doing. But there's still the act of creating a business and creating a product and all kind of the upfront work. And in creating a business, there is no easy way to do it. Like it does take time, well, it does take work, and can take time too. But it does take work, and there's not always a clear milestone of when the payoff will come because you don't know how the world will work, if people will like your idea or anything else. But what we wanted to do was create an incentive structure to where you knew where the first milestone was. If you hit this, then you get the payday, and you hit success of some sort. So that is the reason we're doing this prize, is to incentivize people who may have been waiting on the sidelines thinking, I don't know if I should start a business right now, to start a business right now. Get it going. Set up your Etsy store, connect it to Teleport, and go. You have 30 days to get to $1,000 in sales, and if you do, we'll pay you $1,000 on top of whatever your sales are. Free and clear is what it is. That'll be a PayPal link transferred right to you. As far as the rules of the prize, they're all the common things. Don't commit fraud, don't do stupid stuff, and you do have to get it done in 30 days. Those are the big ones. The way I would go about doing this, if I was going after this prize and was a college kid with some spare time going into the summer, I would go through and I would find a bunch of models online, just a whole mess of models online. If you have a 3D printer, great. If you don't, you can survive. Find a bunch of models. Start creating product listings with them. If you need help with those product listings, use ChatGPT, but wrangle it into something good. Take like the most popular product you've ever seen, like a Ridge wallet. Take the description of it and then say, ChatGPT, emulate that copy, but describe this vase. I'm not going to say vase. Don't do vases. But describe this 3D printed object. And then create a listing for it on Etsy. It will cost you about $25 to do this. You're going to have to pay $15 for a new Etsy store, plus a couple of listing fees, and then $10 for miscellaneous, whatever it is. So don't drink coffee for 3 days, and you'll be fine. But grab a bunch of files. You can either grab them from a Patreon that has a large back catalog so that you have 1,000 files to pull from. That way you can also pull from files that other people aren't like currently selling but are still in that same catalog. That way you only have one Patreon subscription. Don't do the most recent stuff. Do the work. Dig into the bowels of their history and get the good stuff. Get the past stuff. Get more stuff. And then you are going to, within 3 days, create 20 listings on Etsy. You will either print the objects and take pictures or take screen caps of the item in some kind of render environment. If you have Autodesk 360, you can upload the STL, render it inside of a space so that it looks nice. Or you can take the STLs, pull them into 3D Builder, and throw up some photos behind them. That'll work fine. Do a green screen, give some context, edit the photos in some kind of a way. Don't just screenshot the thing in the render. You won't sell anything that way. But improve the photos somehow. If you can print them and take a photo, that's even better, especially for Etsy because it shows you're real. 20 listings in the first 3 days. And then every day for the next 30 days, you're going to list 5 more items at least. That'll get you to 150 items. I would be shocked if you did not get to $1,000 in sales if you listed 5 new items every day for 30 days. So, yeah, I would be very surprised by that. That would be how I would go about it. If you're fully cold and you don't have an existing idea that you want to pursue as like part of this prize, if you're starting fully cold, you have to get the reps in, get the numbers in. That is what you need to do in order to be successful at this prize. That's just the fundamental printing model. upload a bunch of models and get them going. Here's the trick too. The work with Teleport is literally just connect it to the Etsy store. You don't have to do any matches yet until you start getting orders. You only have to match stuff up when there is an order. So again, there's no effort on the Teleport side until you actually start making sales. So do that. Get it all set up, get it going. We're really excited about this prize because we think it'll, again, scoot a bunch of people off the sidelines in the field to play, because that's what the 3D printing world needs. More people need to just go and start the business because it is passive right now. With Teleport, you don't have to deal with the shenanigans of stuff. So go consider this your excuse to get started and to go. This is not going to run forever. We're doing this for 30 days. And then if you don't get started in those 30 days and then run for 30 days after the start date, then it won't apply anymore. So do it right now. We announced it a few days ago, so you're running out of time. So get rolling. Beyond that, though, we're excited to see what everybody builds. And as we're able to, we're not going to reveal shops automatically. However, we would like to. People who win the prize, we would love to be able to share you around and promote you here on the channel and the rest of it so that you can get more momentum after the prize. So announcement of the prize winners is something that we want to do. But beyond that, go. Just go. Start something up. If you've been waiting for a couple of months for the thing to be right, stop doing that. Go get something listed out the door. I hear this from people all the time of yeah, I'm thinking about a product, but I'm working on it for a couple more months. There's no product that needs a couple more months of work. There's no 3D printed product that needs a couple more months of work. Go. Get some version of it out the door right now, because you're just going to think about it for a couple more months, and then you're going to think about it for a couple more months, and then you're going to be like, Christmas season, I'm busy. There'll always be an excuse. Get started right now. This is the best incentive we could come up with to give you no excuse to start, because if you start later, you will miss this opportunity. So there is that. Yeah, hopefully that's interesting to y'all, and we'll look forward to see what y'all have. All right, moving on to your questions. 43, 30. Questions then. Not too many questions from last week. If you have a question that you want me to answer in the podcast each week, just go ahead and comment question, and then whatever your question is down below inside the comments. Them's the rules. All right. Question. What is the bottleneck for multicolor printing for Teleport? Dual extruders machines seem like a viable option with a little waste. Yeah. So multicolor printing will never be a thing. Very likely never be a thing. A print farm is one of the most complex types of factories you can possibly build, because you have thousands of individual devices with 3 to 4 degrees of freedom, actuated positions. And you just added on another 25%, 20% of complexity to the system by adding another nozzle. When we started Slant 3D, we evaluated everything. And by the way, none of the technology that's available today is new or unknown. We knew machines would get faster. We knew resolutions would get better. We knew print quality would improve. We knew multi-headed nozzles existed. We knew better quality microcontrollers were around. There was just a cost curve and expertise curve of when they would make it to 3D printing. So we were like, okay, where is the puck skidding? Where do we need to be standing in order to have the technology that's necessary here? First statistic. The vast majority of plastic products made throughout human history have been single color. Additional colors have been made through paint or printing or stickers and that kind of stuff. So with all of that history is something to be aware of, because molding is able to do multicolor too, but multicolor and over molds don't happen that often compared to the bulk of products made. Nozzles on the machines. Okay, we're going to make 1,000 machines inside of a machine, inside of a print farm, and we eventually need to build 1.5 million to match Amazon. Do I really want 1.5 million nozzles to go get plugged, or do I want 3 million nozzles to get plugged? Which has a higher probability of creating a really high maintenance cost? Twice as many nozzles. The nozzles, the dual nozzle also radically increases print failure. Again, another moving part, but also just interaction with machines. I have yet to see a dual nozzle mechanism that seems reliable to me, to where it won't degrade over time really drastically and quickly. Just that flex or rotate or the pop up, pop down. It's not good. So the dual nozzle technology right now is something for the consumer machines because it's a good way to make little fidget dragons with white eyes, and that's fine. But it's not useful for the vast majority of items. Then internally, from the use of teleport thus far, we know that the vast majority of the parts made inside of teleport are single color prints. Not even like dual color, like, oh, purple base over here, green lid over here. Multicolor is not a primary consumer driver of successful products. It's a gimmick. Looks really good, gets a lot of views on Instagram, but it doesn't matter. Objectively, no part of the data backs up doing multicolored printing. There's other ways of going about it, and we'll deal with them. That all being said, here's the thing. Teleport and Slant 3D in general is a server farm, or a manufacturing server farm. It is perfectly possible that at some point in the future, we will create different types of servers that people can access for different fee rates. Oh, you want just fast and cheap? Well, use a previous generation machine from 2 years ago. Oh, you want current state of the art? Here's what we recommend. It's good catch-all. Oh, you want multicolor? Here's that. It's twice as expensive. We might do that. That is conceivable. But then as soon as you do multicolor too, you're dealing with a whole different user interface problem that is really quite complex in the context of teleport. Right now, you match a color and you match a file. To then have to go in and paint your files inside a teleport is a lot. So there's just a lot of stuff that has to happen for that to work. The data doesn't support it right now, but there is a direction that we can go with it. We just haven't chased that down yet. Okay, question. From your experience with teleport, what product sectors do you think 3D printing could play a major role in how future products are manufactured? You stated furniture is one opportunity. What are other sectors that have good opportunities to look at? Go subscribe to the Slant POD channel. We talk about a lot of this stuff. Accessories, organizers, D&D terrain, toys, decor, home decor, kitchen accessories, gadgets, woodworking, tools, brackets, custom fittings, assemblies, accessories for everything, car accessories. Basically, run through the accessories market. The entire accessories market will be radically disrupted by 3D printing over the next few years inside of teleport. Anything that you see right now as popular, don't do that. It's not that popular. It gets a lot of views on Instagram and TikTok. It's not that sellable. Accessories. Something that you can print in black. Start with that as a premise. And make chunky and design well for 3D printing. Those are the places to sell from. Okay. Yeah, if you want questions, put question, whatever you want down there. Question. Curious if the Tangled and Teleport ads actually have accounting behind it or just something you say. I'm not sure what that question means. Yeah, we run the Teleport and Tangled ads here on podcasts to promote Tangled and Teleport. We hope you guys go sign up and buy some stuff. Question. Will new filament options colors still be made in America? Yes, actually. The new materials that we'll be adding to Tangled will still be made in America. Question. Do I need to pay for a ShipStation subscription in order to use Teleport? I had a 30-day trial and everything ran smoothly. I came back and I believe I now need to pay for a ShipStation subscription, but I want to be sure before I spend the money. ShipStation, this was a big old kerfuffle that we had with ShipStation. They had us led on that it was free for a duration as well. Yes, after 30 days of the free trial on ShipStation, you do have to pay for the minimum tier, $10 per month for ShipStation in order to keep Teleport active. We're working on that. and seeing what we can get done, both through operations and the rest of it. Question, at what angle does teleport slicer start to use automated support? 45 degrees. And yes, you're right, it might change in future. What are your thoughts on loop filament recycler? Don't review other people's machines. Don't have an opinion on it. Desktop 3D filament recycling in general is dumb. There's no scale to it. The quality is garbage. Contamination is too high. I have no idea what those individual guys are doing, but desktop filament extrusion just doesn't work. It's been around for a long time, hasn't gone anywhere, and there's nothing new out there. Let's see here, other questions. Question. Our first robotics competition season is over, and now we are in the off season. I was considering trying to get my students to design 3D models to sell for funding of our robotics team. Good idea. You should do that. However, my school seems adamant that I cannot have direct deposit and that we must accept payment by check. What suggestions would you have for this issue? Is there an alternative route that I may or may not be considering? Here is what I would do. I don't know if this is correct. I would set up a separate LLC outside that operates the website that sells the 3D prints. The kids submit, and that nonprofit or that LLC or whatever else it was runs the website, gets paid by people via credit card like a normal human. And it runs the website and people can buy stuff. So I'm going to do this on the presumption that you're using Teleport. You get a Shopify site. You have Teleport plugged into it. Each time somebody buys one of the 3D printed widgets from you that your team designs to sell and print and fundraise, people buy it on the website. You get paid on the website. You pay off Teleport. Cool. At the end of it all, you have a bulk amount. That company has a bank account with a check. Once a month, take whatever the amount in the bank account is, write a check, and head it to the school to go to the club. So that you are still handling the money all out there however the heck you want to, but then the club gets the money to be deployed as the club does within the purview of the school and the organization and that kind of stuff. That is how I would do it. Set up a separate kind of organization that has its own entity that can take normal payments like a normal thing, and then it just writes a check to the school for the club. That's how I would do it. Let's see. I think that's the last of them. Yep, that's the last of them that I can find. Cool. Well, yeah, again, if you guys have any questions, just down below, question, whatever your question is, and I'll address it, whatever it is. Some weeks we have a whole mess of questions and we can't cover them all. Some weeks we don't have very many and we get to go through all of them. So that's fine. And then, yeah. That should be good. We'll be able to run through that stuff and go from there. Have a great week, everybody.